Right. Good evening. Happy Wednesday, everyone. You are watching The Unstoppable Singer. I'm your host, Danielle Tucker. I'm a singer, a vocal coach, and a lead singer with the Mighty Untouchables band. I produced and hosted the Pandemic Proof Singer Summit 1 and 2, and now I produce and host The Unstoppable Singer. And The Unstoppable Singer is a live interview style show where I follow the lives of real life professional singers. And these singers have made some incredible achievements in their lives and careers. And we cover everything from voice work, making money, booking gigs, songwriting, recording, session work, and a whole lot more. And so we just kind of pull the curtain back a little bit on the industry to take a look. And we share everything. With everything that we have been through in the past couple of years, we really strongly focus on going from surviving to thriving. So we're working on safeguarding our careers, building strong bodies, minds, and open hearts. So if this sounds like something you are interested in, please stick around because I'm about to introduce my guest tonight. It is Faith Rivera. I am so excited to have her on. Faith is from Hawaii. She's an Emmy Award winning singer songwriter. Faith opens hearts and transforms lives around the globe through the power of music. Her uplifting songs are heard on shows like NCIS and Empire. She's been featured at the Hollywood Bowl and the House of Blues to stages in Tokyo to Rome, where audiences of all ages are engaged and energized through upbeat messages, music, and dance. This island girl is a multiple Pose Award winner and Grace Note Award recipient for her contribution to New Thought music. She's featured in documentary films like As a Man Thinketh with Michael Beckwith, Joe Vitale, and more empowering teachers. She recently released her 11th album, Rise, featuring a fiery call to action playlist showcasing a new sound blending pop, EDM, hip hop, and more. And weekly, you can hear her and her co-host on Mind Body Spirit FM on their podcast. Lord, it's late. Voices of Unity, honest talk on walking that spiritual walk in everyday life. And most recently, she was a co-writer on Grammy-nominated album East West Players Present Daniel Ho and Friends live in concert. So without further ado, let me bring her on. Faith.
Yay.
How
Hi,
are you?
Danielle. I'm doing awesome. That was a mouthful. Thank you for so graciously
Yeah.
reading that all. Blah, blah, blah.
I'm glad I articulated it so well, too.
Well, I'm really happy to, meet you virtually. And, you sold me on like the titles of your offerings, right? The pandemic proof singer, the unstoppable singer. I mean, I love all that, empowerment. And I know you're like me. I always hated that idea of the starving artist, and that's why I'm so happy to be here with you and share what I can and chat with you on what's working and maybe what could be better.
Great. Oh, I'm so honored to have you. I've been familiar with your music for a long time. Just for everybody watching, this is our first time meeting tonight
Yes.
virtually.
Yes.
But I came to know Faith's music many years ago now when I got introduced to Centers for Spiritual Living and started sub-directing at one of the centers here in San Diego. And then I eventually went on to direct at a center in Temecula. And Faith is just a great figure in the New Thought music scene. And, I've sung lots of your music and used it in services and everything. And it's just, you're just an incredible talent, and your music really, truly is so uplifting. And I am all about that. So it's a pleasure to have you with me tonight.
Thank you. And, we also share the mama thing, right? We were just talking
Yes.
about how many kids do you have? How old?
Right. Yeah. I think that's what I can blame my poor articulation on tonight.
No.
I came onto our interview in a scramble because I had to pick up a daughter who was late coming out to the car. So, all the mom things.
Yeah, no, I feel you, but it adds an extra layer, when you're running your own business, especially when you're like a musician, a singer songwriter, on these gigs that pop up or go away, and you're like, having to balance the kids. So it's a real thing. So I appreciate that you take the time to, host a show like this. I mean, it takes time. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah, you definitely feel me on that. But
I do.
I just think like we kind of talked about before we came on, I think it's really important as singers, we're essentially running our own businesses. And so it can be a bit isolating. We see
Yes.
our ensemble members, we see, other musicians here and there, but for the most part, we're kind of on our own doing our thing. And I think we often wonder, how do other people do this? How do they make it work? And some people have kids, some people have no kids, some people have lots of kids, and or just other things going on in their lives.
Yeah.
They do tons of projects, and I think it's really important that everybody see that we all do it differently. We're all making it work in our own unique way.
We do. And, I think that's what I found was it got easier when you stop kind of just because we can compare ourselves to the outward, successes or outward projects that everyone else is doing. But unless you're like in their shoes and know they had to run and pick up their kid, or you know what I mean? Like it's just, I think the more clarity you have on what's important to you, and kind of like where your heart is, it'll kind of help direct where you're going. At least it did for me, because I'm not sure how you started, but I auditioned for everything, right? From Disney to the girl group. I did that whole thing, and I tried doing the nightclubs, and you're talking about how you were led to Centers for Spiritual Living. And honestly, I didn't know there was a career where I could write inspiring music, some spiritual music, and actually make a living at it, beautiful living at it. But it took me kind of following my heart, meaning like I joined the union, I was trying to do the whole session singer thing. I was doing all the auditions, and I just, early in my career, I just told my husband, I said, my favorite author, he wrote Conversations with God, Neil Donald Walsh, was having a free retreat. And this was like way out of like left field for us, right? I said, I have to go to this thing, and the story, which I've said so many times, is my husband said, okay, if you want to go to this weird thing, if you want to go to a weird thing, you have to use the money you've been saving to replace your college keyboard. And, you have to use that money then to go here. And then he said, you have to take me. So we go, and not only do I meet Neil Donald Walsh and these other speakers that I would get to support, at retreats or conferences, it was being hosted at the Living Enrichment Center, which at that time was the largest New Thought center of its, ever, like campus. No clue. I just volunteered, not knowing any better, didn't know there was a waiting list of artists. She chose one song called Kumbaya. It was based on the law of attraction, what I was reading in the book. One song, and there were 3 services, 1,000 people in every service. And Mary Morrissey, who was, best-selling author, who was the founder of this church, has my lyrics on the Jumbotron, in her message. I'm like, what is going on? And so by the end of the morning, I sold more CDs in a morning than I sold in a year. And that's how I discovered what I do. And I feel like it's because I followed my heart with that. Can you relate to that in your path?
So yes, very much so. And I think that that's something that it's one topic I absolutely love talking about, because I'm fascinated with how people's careers unfold. It's amazing just to see how the seed is planted, and then how one small thing leads to another, and you find yourself in one starting place, and then 2, 3, 5 years down the road, you're in another place that you just would have never imagined. And you can look back and see, this is all because I took one small risk one day, or I talked to one person, or like made one small action that ultimately led to a full career.
Yes. Well, and I feel like it's that, I think Tom Hanks said it when they asked him about his success, and he just said, I'm the only one who kept going, meaning we kept showing up, right? Like, even though we didn't know what was going to unfold for us. So, so that was a big launching pad for me, that, and also dabbling a little bit in the session singing world. But as I'm sure everyone's finding out, is there's just so many things you can focus on when you're a singer-songwriter, a musician, there's the
Mhm.
session jobs and there's the, trying to be a songwriter. So definitely focus
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
is something that I probably still need more of.
I know.
But I guess I focused enough to, move forward
Yes.
with my goals. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And there's so many opportunities out there, and I'm if you're anything like me, like I want to do all the things.
That was me.
Yeah.
That was me. And I think at a certain point, I just had to kind of check in. I'm like, I don't know, am I, is this gig more like me or is this? And to be honest, I couldn't find that fit.
Hmm.
I remember thinking like, oh, I really want to be a top session singer. And I think I was doing a song for a TV show. It's called Pasadena. And they didn't really know what they wanted, because sometimes it's like the business guys with the business vision or the non-musicians, they have a
Hmm.
vision and they're trying to tell you how to do a song, but it gets lost in translation. So I
Yes.
kept trying and trying. And finally, when I did it my own way, they said, maybe that's it. And I don't know, there was nothing wrong with that scenario, but it just didn't light my fire. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? That just wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
I
yeah.
definitely I hear that. Well, let's back up and
Okay.
hear about,
Okay.
tell us, where you grew up. Are you coming from a musical family, and kind of how did you get introduced to the world of music?
Okay. Well, I was born on Kauai. I live on Oahu now, and this is
Mhm.
mostly where I grew up. My parents are first generation immigrants from Philippines. They're citizens now, But the joke is that, if you're a good Filipino parent, you put your kid into piano. So
Okay.
I was in piano since first grade. And I went to an all girls Catholic school. So I would say by sixth grade, I was singing. Eighth grade, started writing my own songs. And by the time I was a senior, I had an all girls band and a manager, and
Nice.
we toured the islands. And it's funny because I say the story back to me, I'm hearing it, and I'm like, oh yeah, it totally makes sense that I would do music. What I didn't tell you was that I had this horrible stage fright. It was painful to be on stage,
Mm.
to a point where once I was a senior, and mind you, I said we had a manager, we toured all the little places here in Hawaii. We even released a single, like my first original. I was just a senior on an international record label or something.
Mm.
And I was so scared that, do you know, I turned down going to Berklee College of Music because in my
Oh,
mind, the story in my mind was, oh, I can't do music.
yeah.
And I laid out the story for you. I'm like, well, that seems so logical. I do music. But so that fear continued, and it's
Mhm.
too long to tell you the whole story here, but I tried to quit a few times. And the amazing thing is the universe would always step in.
Mhm.
My eighth grade principal stepped in when I said, I'm going to quit piano. Everybody else quit piano. I'm quitting. And she said, no, you're not quitting. And so
Mhm.
that kind of repeated itself. And so I'm just so grateful for what was Sister Marie Celeste. She's the first person who just said, nope, you got to keep going. You have no choice.
Oh my God. I
I'm
love that.
unstoppable. See, even though my
You
mind was trying
are.
to stop me, the music wanted to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think that's a beautiful thing about a music career too, is that I think we all get to that point at, somewhere down the road where we're like, okay, I've had enough of this, whether it's, just enduring so much rejection or just,
Yeah.
there's lots of stops and starts in music, and, you've got to learn the
Yes.
whole business, and financially it can be, quite a roller coaster, and we all get
Yeah.
to that point. But there just is something about music when it's in your soul. It just keeps calling. It keeps calling you back. And the
Yes.
nice thing is you can always come back. It's
Yes.
never too late to come back and get started again.
You can. No, you're right. I mean, when I used to teach, actually, yeah, this is right out of college. I started to teach lessons, right? Because you're finding creative ways to use your music and also, have a living. And my student, his name was Bert Mentor, and he was in his 70s.
Hmm.
He called me on the phone just crying, saying how his mom took away his tap shoes when he was 4. So this man had been like trapped, his creativity was trapped, and he showed up and he had like one tooth because he smoked so much. He had emphysema. I'd play a C, he'd sing a B. He'd cry through his Elvis Presley songs. That he'd bring, and I just kept thinking, what am I gonna do? I don't know what to. And I was a new teacher, and we just kept showing up, and we found out he was a great songwriter. He wrote these songs for this grocery clerk he loved. I'm sorry, my alarm's going off. That's to pick up my daughter, but I'm not picking her up today. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Mom, where are you?
Yeah. And we recorded on my little 4-track, these love songs he wrote for this grocery clerk, and his daughter was just so proud of him. And that was only 1 year. And then this man passed away. And so that's like the most extreme story I can give to prove the point you're saying, that it's not too late if you're brave enough to say yes, whether you're just starting this musical journey or reinventing yourself, as we all have had to do that. If it's calling you, it's on purpose. There's something you're supposed to be giving and sharing and receiving back through your gifts.
Yeah. Well, I think that lands for so many of us, right now in particular, coming out of, 2020 and 2021 was still a bit sketch, hopefully your 2022 is going well. But I've talked to countless singers who, have really gotten back in the swing of things. Things have kind of, return back to normal to them, or they're just, on new paths. But then on the flip side, I've talked to a lot of singers who just decided, that they were done with this, or that they, wanted to go down a different road, which was, completely understandable. So I'm curious to know, during 2020 and 2021, how were you impacted just career-wise by all of that?
Danielle, I have a completely, my story's opposite. I think because I lived in LA, for my whole career. I went there for college. And so we only moved back home 5 years ago to raise my kids. And it was one of those decisions. I had been cutting down on my touring. And then so I came to Hawaii. I was like, okay, that's really not going to be my livelihood. I'll go out a few times. And so, to be honest, when COVID hit, in a strange way, it was the biggest blessing for me, because all of my tribe and my jobs came back to me because no one could meet in person. And all of a sudden, they didn't have to fly me from Hawaii. I didn't have to leave my kids. I just had to, maybe wake up at 4 a.m. to sing for the East Coast. So it was the busiest I'd been. I mean, it was a lifesaver for me personally. I would say artistically, and just my soul that needed to serve. It was hard for me when I moved here, and how do I find an outlet for what I used to do, right? Which was tour and share this inspirational music and sell my CDs. So for me, I was, if I may humbly say, I was kind of on fire because
that's great. I love that.
Yeah, my album Rise came out, and it was a result of all this frustration and kind of the darkness I went through, feeling like I lost myself when I came home, and Rise was like reclaiming, everything, and a new voice. I was like rapping in Spanish, and I mean, just rapping in general. Yeah. So I was on fire. And that first year, I did so many events, kind of like you, how you did you felt that call, right? For the pandemic proof singer. For me, I did like a luau of love, and I had like fire dancers from Kauai. And I mean, that's just one event. My CD release party, which was Rise, was 2 days featuring not only my co-writers, but bringing in my friends that led people through dance, that led people through meditation, that, so it was like I was a little kid. It's like I got to be with everybody again. So on the flip side now, right? Because everyone's going back in person.
Right.
I'm in it feels like the same place. I'm like, part of me is like, oh no, I'm going to be all alone again, like my little ego. And I've learned enough, thank God. And we've been around enough, positive people that I'm leaning into what's new. And so part of what I didn't share was part of this journey when I came to Hawaii that really fueled me during the pandemic was focusing on sync music, writing specifically for TV and film. And I have to give props to the state of Hawaii that has a program called Creative Labs Hawaii. I was lucky to be a part of it, and they literally brought down the music supervisors. Like Like, I don't know that I could have met them when I was in LA. They brought them all down here, producers and established artists in the sync world. We were in hotel rooms writing songs to briefs. I mean,
Wow.
yeah, that's what I mean.
Amazing.
And obviously, this is pre-pandemic, but I mean, right before it. So I was able to continue with my relationships. Thank God with technology, right? I was writing with people in Singapore, in New York. So I don't know, that part kept going. But now, as I said, I'm in a new space and I'm in the midst of launching maybe a new business idea of how to deliver the music in a meaningful way, but digitally and virtually. So that was a lot I said. Help. Did it make
That's
sense?
great. I love your story. It's refreshing,
It's
to
different.
hear. It is different. It's refreshing to hear that, that you had such a positive experience, and I'm sure that, a lot of people did really. I have a friend that I've interviewed on here named Audrey, and she's always been a session singer, but she's always done it, independently and remotely. So during that time,
Wow.
she had a similar experience where like it was magic for her,
Wow.
probably, at the real high point of her career. So, thank God for singers like you and like her, because you are the ones that showed us, those that were, kind of more primarily in the live
Live.
performance space, that
Yeah.
there were other options out there we might not have been aware of, like live streaming, recording from home, and
Yeah.
discovering those digital platforms that you could work with. And I think a lot of
Yes.
us got a huge education on all of that.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm still learning, to be
Yeah.
honest. I don't have like the full, like, what I think is a pro setup. And it's coming, I'm not so techy, and yet I'm so grateful. I feel like the timing, if you watch the timing, if this happened at any other time when we didn't have Zoom, we didn't have
Yeah.
great internet, I mean, the connection we've created around the world with people would not be possible. So I'm trusting, and that's like leaning into the maybe what you hear at Centers for Spiritual Living and New Thought, that just, I really believe it does happen for a reason. And it's about us keeping our mindset open.
Hmm.
Because I call myself, I'm like a relentless dreamer. Like, I want it all. Like, can I have kids and a, career that just keeps moving and growing? So, yeah, I'm plugging away over here in Hawaii.
Yes, I'm just like you. I feel the same exact way. In
Tell me.
fact, this week I posted this video on Facebook, and it's Shonda Rhimes giving a speech to a graduating class, and she explains the trade-off for success in such an amazing way. I've never heard it explained so well in my entire life. And she kind of spoke what's in my soul on a daily basis, which is,
Wow.
as mothers, um, mothers with a lot of ambition, a lot, moms who want to do a lot of things. Um, Ultimately, there's a trade-off for wanting to do that. For, people always think, how do you achieve balance? How do you make it all happen? How do you do it all? And she is very upfront and clear and honest about the fact that you can't, because inevitably, when you're succeeding in one area of your life, you're going to be failing in another. When you're saying yes to one thing, you're saying no to another. And that, if you're in the recording studio or going on tour, it means you're missing one child's baseball season, or a couple of games. And there is that trade-off,
Yes.
but that it's not it never feels good. It never totally feels good. We always kind of have that, like, a little, nauseousness in our stomach about it. But really inside, what we want is for our kids, we want our kids to see who we really are, and that
Yes.
we're being whole by doing what we love and what we're
Yes.
passionate about.
Yes.
And they need to see that.
Yes. Oh, I agree with you. And it's that balance of showing them that we care enough about our own happiness and our gifts and service, with those gifts, that they can role model that, and that also mommy is, there
Yeah.
for things going on. Because I'll be honest, like I was all excited because, well, I'm gonna go to the Empower Music and Arts, the festival, which is, for our kind of music, New Thought Festival, and so I'm already gone about possibly 12 days because I have other dates before that. And I had this opportunity to go sing for peace and oneness in Ecuador. And, mommy here was dreaming like, yes. And all the pieces lined up, meaning like I got a sponsor, that whatever, all these things were going to happen. And, my sweet husband was like, he's like, I just think that's too long. And by the way, I even asked my kids, though, I don't know that she really knows when they say yes to 3 weeks. I don't know that they really know what that feels like. But my husband was like, that's a little too much, to go. And so it was good for me because, I could have been disappointed. And like I told you, I just kind of lean into it, like the trust, like it's not like I'm never going to go there again. But one important piece of advice that everyone always told me was that this time in our kid's life goes so fast. So I have made my decisions based on that. I have. And as I dream of what's new, right? What you're saying, like those big dreams, I don't know the way, but I know there's a way that I can still be here for them, prosper in the ways I want, and still be at the next level of, my creativity. So it sounds so good when I'm saying it, but I want you to know, girl, when I'm just here at home, like cleaning the thing and, like I'm trying to pack right, So I appreciate having this time to talk because I think unless we talk to each other, for me, I get lost sometimes, to be honest, in the domestic,
Oh yeah.
chop wood, carry water,
Yeah.
fill the dishwasher, empty dish.
It's very glamorous life, that's for sure. It's the stuff dreams are made of. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm so glad that you shared that story about going on that trip, because I know that that's really an important professional and personal lesson that I learned, after having my kids. When I had my first child, I was singing full time in a corporate show band, same one I'm in now. But I was so excited to become a mom, but at the same time, so fearful of losing what I'd had that I pushed myself too hard to go back too fast.
Wow.
And everything ultimately worked out.
Of
But, I
course.
look back and I think, man, I wish I'd had slowed it down, and, kind of given that, been more present during that time. And I think it's so important what you said, that we really can make this work if we can accept that it doesn't have to be an all or nothing type arrangement.
Yeah. Which, don't you feel like a lot in our career sometimes, because sometimes it feels like it takes so long to catch whatever that quote unquote break, that you're like, oh my God, my ship's going to sail if I don't jump on that. And it's like, no, baby, there's like many more ships coming at you. So, I mean, that's what I'm telling myself.
Yeah.
Many more ships.
Yeah, we do. We get so caught up in that fear that, like, this is my opportunity. If I don't do this, nobody's ever going to hire me again. And, if I miss, if I say no to this gig, or if I say no to this project, then I'm going to become irrelevant by next week. And it's just not true.
Yeah.
It's just
Well,
not
and
true.
and I can really feel for singers like you that, I mean, you're in the live arena. I mean, that's really what you're counting on. And so I'm really grateful that early on in my career, I learned about, and who knows if we were reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or I forget where we learned it, but it just got drilled in my head about passive income and royalties. And, because I do write, I'm leaning more into that now, especially with mommyhood. And part of my plan too, my secret plan here is, instead of me traveling out, I'm like, well, I'm thinking of creating personal, like private immersives for people to come to Hawaii. I mean, who doesn't want to come to Hawaii,
Who doesn't?
I think we should, you
You
just
sign me up now.
What? Hey, maybe, one day you'll come and there'll be people that want to come to Hawaii and they want to sing here and there,
Yeah.
and in between go, float in the ocean, talk
Hmm.
about vocal technique or not, maybe it's mom music. It's all open. So we're planting seeds.
That is brilliant. I love that idea. You're thinking. Yes,
I
you
am.
are
I'm thinking.
thinking.
I'm thinking.
I love that.
Oh,
Um, I want to talk more about your songwriting and
okay.
sync licensing.
Okay.
We heard about your, kind of journey into that. You from high school and college, you were doing girl groups, bands, writing, and everything.
Yeah.
Um, how did your writing career unfold? When did you? How did that evolve into you into the world of sync licensing and
Yeah.
writing albums and everything?
Yeah. Well, I would say I was lucky at the start, or it was in the stars, because eighth grade, my first song that I wrote, it was tweaked, and made really nice for a talent show by who's my still collaborator, Daniel Ho, who's this 6-time Grammy winner, which is the
Hmm.
reason why, I had some songs that were nominated. So I think somehow it was always kind of, it was my call,
Hmm.
because he showed up. And as I went through the music industry, as I told you, like finding what was mine and what wasn't mine, I needed to say things myself. You know what I mean? Like I felt like that was what I needed to do. So songwriting is really where that came into play. And I'm thinking back now, it was the mentors, because having Daniel as my role model, I mean, he is such a brilliant artist, but also this disciplined musician. When we
Hmm.
would tour as a duo, I mean, one day I said, well, let me play the shaker, because he was just like doing guitar. And he goes, okay, we'll practice this for a month and then we'll look. I'm like, really? Like, can't I just shake it? Like, but, he kept the standards high. So some of
Yeah.
those writing sessions, they were long because he wanted the perfect word, But I learned a lot from him. I learned a lot from Harold Payne that I met through Just Plain Folks, which I don't know if you ever came across that songwriting organization.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, and he's like a multi-platinum songwriter and just like the
Okay.
most humble guy. But I guess I surrounded myself by other songwriters like that. And gosh, the Emmy that I won early in my career, I'm telling you, girl, I wish I could tell you that I plotted and I had steps and I made it. It wasn't. It was always like, zoop, it would like come in from like the left side. It was one of those, a friend of a friend passed my CD to the composer of this
Yeah.
soap opera show, which I'm sure you heard this kind of story time and again.
Hmm.
It was the first song I wrote specifically for TV. And because we wrote it for a character who was being written off the show, who then actually passed away in a surgery, I mean, I can't make this stuff up. That's what brought the song attention. So, I don't know. Does that help? I mean, ask me more questions. What else about
Yeah.
songwriting?
Well, first of all, thank you for
Okay.
talking about surrounding yourself with mentors. I think that that is so important because I find that, a lot of younger musicians and singers that I talk to that kind of have are pro-minded, they step into the business and they're wanting to work in a league with people who are more experienced and everything, and they step into it with this kind of a mindset that they have to prove themselves right up front in order to fit in and kind of put on that like front, like I know what I'm doing, I'm totally competent, I know, I can do this. And they really miss that window of opportunity to embrace mentorship and to be moldable and to be directable and to kind
Wow.
of humble themselves and tell me what it was like for you to be in that position, with surrounding yourself with, I guess, with musicians who are better than you, so that you
Yes.
can learn from them.
Yes.
Did you feel a lot of resistance towards that, or did you really embrace it? Was it hard for you?
Well, okay. The two situations I'll talk about is one, Empower Music and Arts, which is the organization I'm a part of, for positive music and New Thought music. They would do these songwriting retreats, and they were with the writers, they were like Nashville writers, even though they were in our niche market, Karen Taylor Good and, Janice Stanfield, even like Harold Payne, that they had credits. They had like number one. And I just remember, again, that stage fright I had. Oh, it would come up so bad. And, and I remember it was just fear. What would I do? I mean, I guess I was humble because I was to a point just like freaked out, just so I couldn't even pose. I couldn't even pretend that so I was very open. And I think like what I give myself a pat on the back for is that I showed up. I don't think that I was brilliant, but I showed up. Oh, and one thing I did have to do is sometimes I'd be in a room with like a folk writer, right? Like a genre I didn't know about. And I'd have, I think, preconceptions in my mind of like, well, I'm a pop writer. How's this going to work? I already put up all these mental blocks. And, it would have been easier if I just went in like fresh and new, don't care about genre, don't care about their credits. Because to be honest, from that writing session with all those different writers, my best songs were probably with the folk writer, and it ended up being these really beautiful, not beautiful, but these polished, pumping pop songs, and the more recent experience I had of that was a program I told you about where they put us into these hotel rooms with these producers and these writers and the music supervisors. And it's funny because, I've had a career, right? I've been writing my whole time and I haven't yet been able to fully shake that fear part off from me, but I would go in there and there would be like tumbleweeds. Like I couldn't find my words. So again, sometimes the best I could do was literally just to show up.
Yeah.
And try again. And they might not use anything I said, So
Yeah.
It's all a mental battle. Don't you feel? Not battle. It's a mental, I don't know.
It's a mental thing. I get it. Yes,
is.
I do get it. I love that.
is.
This is so lame. Give me 1 second. I forgot to plug my laptop in and it's about to die. So give me 1 second.
Go ahead. Plug it in. As she's plugging it in, I think I hear my kids.
Wow, I got that mom life like on full display today.
Girl, don't worry. My kids just came in the door. I think over there they're yelling. So.
There we go. Okay.
Yay, we're alive.
We're not going to be dropped off, but yes. Thank you for that answer. I love that. Yeah, you just show up. Even though you're scared and you're intimidated. And yes, I've definitely felt that many times. I think I feel that the most in session work. I love session work, but for some reason there's this intimidation factor for me. Like no matter who it is I'm going to sing with, I always think like, well, this is the day that I am going to really blow it. And everyone's going to find out that I am not actually a good professional singer.
What is that? I know. And, because I was lucky enough to do a few of those sessions, with the top LA session singers, and the red light goes on. And why is it in our profession? But, I will say the positive part is it keeps us on our toes. We want to be our best. I don't know what else is. Well, it is all positive because you stretch each other, and ultimately I think you just have to feel where you belong, and I have to say with the writing sessions I told you on the Big Island where I just felt like a complete dork, even though I've been like into my career like for decades, right?
Yeah.
Is I kept showing up and then I got surprised in one session where I was writing in a genre that I didn't know. So I had no preconceptions. I had no beliefs. I didn't know if I was good or bad. I didn't even know what the genre was, okay? Because it's called Moombahton or something. And it was fire. There were four of us writers writing this Spanish rap. It's called Queen. And then when I went to sing it, because we weren't even sure who was going to sing it, none of us were overtly rapping type of, hot mama type of people. And I swear I channeled some other part of me, and it was bliss. When you surprise yourself and like, oh my God, I'm like, kind of maybe good at that new thing. So anyway,
that's great. Yeah, I just recently had a guest on. His name's Kiyoshi, and he's a rapper, but
Okay,
he
cool.
hosts a lot of workshops on rapping and free flow.
Wow.
And it just like the thought of that like sends chills up my spine. And so we had a great conversation about that and about what it's like for people walking through the door, into his workshops. I
Wow.
would definitely die 1,000 deaths, having to,
So you should do it. That's what you're saying.
I should. I honestly should because this is weird. I've been doing this for decades now,
Yeah.
but I have
Poor thing.
had this weird thing creep up late in my career, and
Yeah.
I've never had performance anxiety before,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if this has been a result of the pandemic or what, but
Mm-hmm.
I have this weird anxiety, this weird performance anxiety when I'm on stage now about lyrics and performing them live. And,
Yes.
thank God, I usually have an iPad where I can kind of, glance down and have,
Mm-hmm.
but when I don't have that safety net and, if I forget a lyric or something, my mind completely goes blank.
I
And
know.
it is such a horrible feeling. And
Yes.
I haven't put in the work to figure that out yet, but that's it. The
Mm-hmm.
rapping thing's a good example where we all kind of have those things that for some reason inside they just like, oh, it's a perfectionism thing. Maybe I don't know,
Yeah.
where
Well,
but yeah, it's important to like find those things and just kind of face them head on and just allow yourself to be bad at
yes.
something,
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Allow yourself to suck a little.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I found that I found myself in that same position, the lyric one. And it's funny when you keep feeding it though, that fear,
Yes.
so I have to like kind of catch that thought early on and
Hmm.
just like, I don't know how I throw it away. I guess I fill it with some other thoughts, but that gets me still. And I'll be completely honest, when I do like my own concerts and I have to play music too, I can't even memorize my own songs.
Hmm.
So I'll have my cheat sheets and they are my safety net. You're right, they are.
Yeah.
And sometimes I at least I've told myself that I feel like I can deliver more and deliver a more authentic experience if I have my safety net. At least
Yeah.
that's where I'm at for now. So
Hmm.
hey.
I agree. I agree with you too. My thought on it is, well, if I have them there, why not have the safety net rather than creating an awkward moment for myself and the audience, when it's just as easy, to have them there. But then
Yes.
again, it is a hindrance in ways too, where, if for some reason I don't have them available, it's just way too much of a mind trip for me. And I am so not proud to admit this, but I know, it's definitely, it's something that I need to work on. And I know that, no matter how deep into our career we are, we're still always learning and,
Yeah, well,
growing.
there's
And that's,
always another edge.
there
There's
is.
always like the next edge. So, but I was gonna say for the free flow thing, I was gonna say that at least for me,
Oh, yeah.
sometimes though that fear is, it's weird, but it's I don't know yet that it's excitement because there's probably something under it, like some kind of golden stuff for me to uncover.
Yeah.
Not forgetting of the lyrics, but like say if you're afraid to try to free flow or something like that, that's what I've found for me. I'm like, okay, just try it.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet. How do you think something like that plays into your writing process? I mean, do you write more independently alone, or do you write better when you're with groups? And are you able to kind of just free flow, with ideas and everything? Or are you a
Yeah.
little bit more calculated from the beginning?
So, a lot of my career was writing my own material, and then I would have some collaborators here and there. But as I stepped more into the TV sync world, that is all collab world. And the hotel rooms was just like, it was torture at first, and I feel like it's it's kind of what we were saying. Like, I know there's something at the end of that, me showing up. Because I could just be like, forget that. Let me just write it here all by myself. But
Mhm.
the songs and I don't know, I feel like the success in that world has to come from these collaborations. Now,
Mhm.
how well do I do live? I'm not that great yet, but I'm really good at, sometimes the songwriters call it alone together, where like
Mhm.
you can have some alone time, whether it's you're in the same space, or actually you go off your Zoom call and I write a little, then we come back. I mean, that's more my favorite speed, only because I swear there's tumbleweeds. I mean, there's just like blank. You're talking about blank. There's
Yes.
just a blank slate sometimes when I'm sitting there,
Mhm.
with my collabs, unless I'm already, I already know the topic and I'm inspired and feeling it. So I'm learning better how to be in that space, because I'd like to cross the bridge, and be
Mhm.
like Sam, doing better at being live in person,
Mhm.
one on one. So, but I'm
Yeah.
so grateful that later in my career that this collaboration has come, because it's definitely next level. I mean, I
Mhm.
think for me, it's expanding me in so many ways.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know too, in the sync world, and when you're writing, intentionally for, to have placements done, there's formulas to it. There are definitely, tracks that you're following, and there are, certain things that they're looking for. When you cross over, or go over and start writing your own original music for yourself, like putting Rise together, putting your own album together, how does that differ for you? How do you get back into that space where you can say, this is like uniquely me, this is written for
Oh,
me and not for,
yeah.
others?
Ooh.
Do you have any practices that you do to kind of get yourself back in that space?
I think I'm still in that question, because, to be honest, Rise, many of those songs were collabs that I had written for Sync, but I was
Okay.
still learning,
Yeah.
right? I was still learning. So I'm still answering that question, because I've been talking with other songwriters and producers in Sync, and the feedback I'm getting is that it's not possible. It's not possible to purposely write to a brief and still retain your artistic, vision. And, you and I were talking about, but can't I have both? So I'm still in the question. The great thing is, because I write, I mean, what's in my heart is more positive, spiritual, reflective. That's what Sync wants, as far as like the rules of what we heard for, especially like commercial stuff. They don't want negative, darkness, and all this kind of stuff. The trick is, how can you bring authenticity? That's really what Sync has been, like a big gift in my pop writing and writing as an artist for a new thought slash inspirational world or
Mhm.
market, is, can I do all these melodies of pop that I love and those kind of productions, and still really be authentic in me telling the story? And really, those are the Sync songs they want. Unless it's a specific request for it to sound like, for the to sell the Downy detergent,
Right.
they really want it to feel like it's real and coming from you.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm in the question. I don't have a clear cut answer
Yeah,
for
that's
you.
good. You're
As
still in the
yeah,
question. I like
yeah, yeah.
how
I'm
you
in the
put that.
question. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
great. Well, I want to ask you more about Rise before we wrap things up. Before I do that, I don't want to neglect everyone in the comments over here.
Oh, are
Tim
there comments?
in San Diego is with us. Hey, Tim. Oh, you're watching from YouTube tonight. Very fancy. Yeah, we're
Oh,
broadcasting
there.
live from YouTube, Facebook, and
Hi.
Twitch. So we're all over the place. And Eden Castile, my dear friend, is here. Eden is a great talent. She says hi there. Alone together, how cool. And she says she just got done with her show and now she's enjoying inspiration from Faith and
Oh,
Danielle. Hi, Eden.
so cool. Hi, guys. I just discovered the comments. Okay.
Yes, there they are. Yeah. So, yeah, before we wrap up, I just want to ask a few more questions about Rise, because I want to direct everyone to go and check that out. How did that come together? Was that something you were planning on writing already pre-pandemic, or did did it all kind of come together during that time period?
I think when the pandemic hit, I was ready to release it, or I was cutting maybe 2 more tracks. So I had just, rediscovered Sync TV in a real, meaningful way, right, through this Hawaii program. And I had started to write these songs, but really they were my emotional catharsis to move through what I was moving through as this mom who felt, I'd lost some of my identity. So there's some songs on there called Come Alive, where it's like my rah-rah song of like, I'm going to take back my power, and, and that Mumbo Tone song called Queen, another one called In My Own Skin. So it was me finding my voice again, telling myself that, okay, I'm different. I'm not touring now. Maybe I can't identify myself as that, touring New Thought artist. But there's something coming here. And that's why it's called Rise. Because I was evoking it. This was like my little spell of like, come on, show me the fire. I'm not done yet. That's really what I think I was trying to say with this album. So once the pandemic hit, I feel really lucky because I was riding on that energy of rising, right when everything was shutting down. Yeah. So, it was really important. It was so special to me that's how I entered the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Yeah. And was everything recorded all at once, or were you just recording singles and you've put these together as a collection?
Yes, exactly. Because my collaborators were all around the country, and it's funny. I've had 11 albums, and I've done everything from like a full Hawaiian album to like it was like all these affirmation dance songs. And most of my other albums, I don't know that they're one genre because I love so many different styles. So I would say Rise. I was a little bit, what's the word? I was afraid of what, as far as like branding and all that. I'm like, oh my God, nobody's going to know what I do because I go from EDM to like this pop Hawaiian thing. And ultimately it's everything I wanted to say. And I'm an artist, so I said it. And it's chop suey is what I'm saying. And it's good, meaning it's a buffet of different styles, but it's the cohesiveness is the message of rising, through it all.
That's so great. And what can you share with us what your favorite track is off the album? Do you have a favorite?
Rise is the title cut. So the producer on there, he's from Hawaii. His name is Imua Garza. Amazing. Yeah. So, and I wrote that actually, you might know, for the Association for Global New Thought. It was written for an opening ceremony. So it doesn't even sing, I think, like a normal song. It's more of an anthem. But I really, I dig that song. And I also, I like Lighthouse is another song I wrote on there because to me, it represented what the pandemic was like. The lyrics talk about like, okay, I know it's dark. I know we all want to run away. I know who's going to come and save us. And the hook is like, who's going to be the light? I mean, it's me and you. We're the ones here. So it's a real, like, I guess another anthem saying like, we can do this, that we're the lighthouse. We need to be lighthouse for others. So I guess maybe those two potentially.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's some good stuff in that album. So how can everybody listen to it? Where would you like to send them to check out Rise and all your other albums as well?
Yeah, well, it's on all the streaming platforms. So feel free, to find it that way. And if you want to be in touch with me, be a part of my Rise tribe, you can go to faithrivera.com and you'll get some free music that way. And on YouTube, I have so many, songs there. And if they can speak to you, your heart and where you're at, because that's what I'm about, the kind of music I write. If it can fuel your dreams, I want you to use it and share it. And it's just look for Faith Rivera. Yeah. Oh, and on social media, find me Faith Rivera Music on Instagram and Facebook. Facebook. Yeah, it's Faith Rivera Music. And I don't know if you're like me, Danielle. I swear I blame the mommyhood thing, and I don't post all the time or as consistently as I'd like to. Yeah. But anytime there's a big project or something that I know could serve others, I do share that. like this show. So yay, I'll be
Yeah.
posting about this.
Oh, great. That's great. Well, oh my gosh, I love you so much. I just love your vibe. I wish, I'd love to meet up with you sometime in Hawaii. I
Yeah.
was going to tell you, my band was actually out in Hawaii twice, once in
Already?
December and once in January. We were on Oahu the first time, and then we were on the Kona the second time.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and
You
it
got to
I
call
hadn't been.
me.
Yeah,
Text me.
I will next time. We may be in Maui in July, actually. It would be amazing
Oh,
to, like, travel
mhm.
around a little bit, but, I
Yes.
hadn't been since I was a kid, and I just
Wow.
oh my god, I was so blown away. I
Oh,
wish we could have spent more time there.
I
You're
know.
so lucky. It's just gorgeous
You're
there.
gonna come back. You're gonna
Yeah.
come back,
We
you
will.
know?
We will for
Yeah, you
sure.
will.
Yeah,
You
I know.
will.
I'd love to meet up with you and get to know you better. And
Same
um
here.
yeah, if you do that workshop intensive in Hawaii, just sign me up. I'm there.
Okay.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Faith. I really do.
Thank
I just
you.
love you. You're amazing. It was such
Oh,
a pleasure to have you, and I appreciate everybody that stopped by and
yes.
hung out with us for a while. This is the
Yes.
Unstoppable Singer, and I will be back next week with another amazing guest. And
Mm,
we will keep up with you, Faith, and keep an eye on
yes.
everything that you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Aloha, guys.
Good
Thank you.
night.